Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Front Page on Bowl. This is me, Moizur Rahman, signing in, and today we will be bringing you news from all across the world. So without wasting any time, let's talk about something really unfortunate, that how BJP's hate politics is also tarnishing the beautiful concept of sports. Sports is one of the biggest ways to actually do diplomacy. It is a brilliant way to actually promote peace, harmony, and sportsman spirit amongst nations. It is a concept that actually teaches us and makes you learn that you can coexist amongst each other despite having opposite sides. But the way how RSS-backed Hindutva mindset in India has completely destroyed this concept, it is shameful. Whether it comes to cricket or whether it comes to sports such as hockey, it is unacceptable because of the way how the BJP inspired Hindutva wing, whether it's on social media or their own media, gives threats to Pakistan as well as other countries, and it is actually acting as a stalemate in the middle of sports. And this is why Pakistan has actually withdrawn from the men's hockey Asia Cup over security concerns. And this is from where we will be beginning tonight. And this is a significant development in regional sports diplomacy, that Pakistan has officially decided to not send its national hockey team to India for the upcoming men's hockey Asia Cup, scheduled to take place in Rajgir from the 27th of August to the 7th of September 2025. According to senior government sources, the decision was made after extensive deliberations, with officials citing escalating political tensions, hostile media narratives, and serious security threats to the players as key concerns. While Pakistan has long maintained that sports should remain separate from politics, but officials say that it is India that has politicized the playing field, creating an atmosphere where the safety and dignity of Pakistani athletes cannot be guaranteed. A government source stated, Indian media has launched a relentless smear campaign against Pakistan, while extremist groups such as RSS or the BJP are openly issuing threats to our players through social media. Among the threats are messages circulated by ultra-nationalist groups like the RSS, which is an epitome of the Hindutva extremism, reportedly sharing images of Pakistani players with targeted threats, which is a very deeply disturbing trend that has made participation of the Pakistani players too risky in the tournament. Officials noted that the double standards at play. Indian media initially reported that the government had cleared Pakistan's participation, only to later fuel hostility with inflammatory bulletins and inflammatory commentary, further heightening the risks and tensions. The decision to withdraw is being seen not just as a protective measure, but also as a statement against the increasing politicization of sports in India, especially under the ideological influence of the ruling BJP and its affiliates. Pakistan's withdrawal is a blow to the tournament, but more importantly, it reflects its commitment to athlete safety, dignity, and principled engagement in global sports. When politics poisons the pitch, the game can't go on. Pakistan has acted responsibly, choosing security and national dignity over symbolic participation in a hostile environment. This is bigger than just hockey. It's a reminder that India's rising intolerance and securitized politics are isolating sports when it should be bringing the region together. For now, Pakistan must protect its athletes first, but at the same time, it must deal with the sporting fallout later. And the world must hold India accountable for the way it is actually spreading hate, for the way it is actually spreading extremism across. It is absolutely unacceptable, and I guess that Pakistan has made the right decision to withdraw from this tournament. And sports, the way India has been jaundicing the culture of sports and jaundicing the culture that is promoted by sports, there is no way that this extremist temperature and sports can go on together. We will continue to discuss this topic in further detail, but now let's talk about the preliminary report that has come from the Air India crash investigation. This crash took place last month, which it was on a flight from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick. It was Air India 171. It was a Dreamliner aircraft that was involved in the crash, and unfortunately 246 people lost their lives. Now the India's aviation disaster has revealed shocking pilot confusion and safety failures apparently. And it is yet to be ascertained whether it was a pilot error or it was a technical failure. But what is very, very important to tell over here, that the fuel cutoff switches that have been talked about in the report, let me tell you that no matter if there is even a mechanical failure, a fuel cutoff switch cannot go off until and unless it is manually controlled or manually cut off. So it is very important to tell this, and we will discuss this further in our show. The preliminary investigation into Air India Flight 171, which crashed in Ahmedabad on the 12th of June, killing 260 people, has revealed disturbing details about what transpired in the cockpit moments before the disaster struck. According to the black box data which has been released today, both fuel control switch on the Boeing 787 Dreamliner were mysteriously moved to the cutoff position just seconds after takeoff. It is a move that starved both engines of fuel and triggered total power loss. What makes this even more alarming is the cockpit voice recording, where one pilot is heard asking his colleague, "Why did you do the cutoff?" The other pilot responds, "I didn't." Let that sink in. Neither pilot admitted to shutting off the fuel switches that actually led to the power cutoff and led to the crash. Aviation experts worldwide are baffled. These fuel control switches are specifically designed with multiple safety features to prevent accidental activation. They must be pulled up to unlock before flipping, a deliberate two-stage process that dates back to aviation safety standards from the 1950s. As one Canada-based investigator told the BBC, it would be almost impossible to pull both switches with a single movement of one hand. But here's where India's chronic negligence comes into sharp focus. The report reveals that in 2018, the Federal Aviation Administration issued a safety bulletin highlighting that some Boeing aircraft fuel control switches were installed with their locking features disengaged. While this wasn't classified as an unsafe condition requiring mandatory fixes, it was an advisory recommendation for inspection. Air India chose to ignore this recommendation entirely. No inspections were performed, no safety checks were conducted. This is the same airline that India's government sold to Tata Group in 2022, marking it as a world-class transformation success story. What's particularly telling is the international response versus India's approach. The investigation has been criticized for its lack of urgency and transparency. While families demand justice, Indian authorities continue their pattern of deflection and delay that we've seen in countless other disasters. The crash has cast a dark shadow over India's aviation ambitions. The same country that boasts about becoming a global superpower cannot ensure basic safety protocols in its national carrier. The same nation that spreads propaganda about its technological prowess ignored a simple safety advisory that could have prevented this tragedy. Well, having said that, even if the cutoff switches had that problem, they still could not have shut down without the involvement of a manual move that actually pulled these fuel control switches. Let me demonstrate you that behind the throttle are two engine fuel cutoff switches, and you have to pull them up. You pull both of them up, and that's how they are cut off. So it is very baffling that what would have happened that led to the cutting of these switches. And obviously the final report, as the investigation goes forward, that will tell us that what happened. But tonight 260 families are grieving because of possibly negligence, poor oversight, and the kind of institutional failure that has become India's hallmark. The investigation continues, but for the victims' families, no amount of explanation will bring back their loved ones. This is the price of India's careless approach to safety and accountability. This is a very unfortunate incident that took place, and the error that led to that possibly is even more heartbreaking. We will continue to discuss this, and we will continue to share as soon as the investigations proceed forward. Finally, we turn to Gaza, where the United Nations has documented what can only be described as a systematic war crime being carried out under the guise of humanitarian aid. The numbers released today are staggering and paint a picture of deliberate cruelty that demands international attention. According to the United Nations officials, since May, 819 Palestinians have been killed while simply waiting for food. Let me repeat that. 819 people shot dead while standing in line for humanitarian aid. Of these, 634 were killed near sites run by the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, or GHF, a controversial Israeli-backed organization that has effectively sidelined the United Nations established aid network. Philippe Lazzarini, head of the UNRWA, put it bluntly: "Under our watch, Gaza has become the graveyard of children and starving people." He described Israel's action as a cruel and Machiavellian scheme to kill, and note that Palestinians have no way out. Their choice is between two deaths: starvation or being shot at. Yesterday's massacre in Deir al-Balah exemplifies the systematic targeting. 15 people, including 9 children and 4 women, were martyred while waiting for nutritional supplements. Among the victims were 2 children whose bodies were photographed lying on a hospital floor, images that should haunt anyone with a conscience. But this isn't random violence, it's part of a calculated strategy. The GHF, despite being funded by Israel, has admitted through Israeli soldiers and contractors that they routinely shoot unarmed Palestinians gathering around the aid camps for food. Let me tell you that these aren't military targets. These are hungry and innocent civilians, including children and elderly people. The geographical positioning of these killing sites reveals the deeper strategy. An Israeli analyst, Daniel Levy, notes that the 3 GHF aid hubs in southern Gaza are a premeditated part of a social demographic engineering designed to force Palestinians towards Rafah. Satellite images show large tracts of Rafah being systematically cleared, apparently in preparation for what the Israeli Defense Minister Israeli Katz calls a humanitarian city that would house Gaza's entire 2.1 million population. This concentration strategy bears disturbing historical echoes. As Levy points out, we are witnessing, it seems, a second Nakba, referring to the 1948 expulsion of Palestinians from their homeland, while the actual humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate. Carl Scow from the World Food Programme reported and said that they have enough food to feed Gaza's entire population for 2 months, but the trucks aren't being allowed in. Instead, Palestinians are forced to rely on the GHF's deadly distribution points. Gaza's health ministry reports that hospital patients are on the brink of death every day due to fuel shortages. Kidney dialysis treatments are being halted, ambulances can't operate, forcing people to transport the injured and the sick in animal-drawn carts. The cruelty is systematic and intentional. While Israel's allies provide diplomatic cover and financial support for the starvation campaign, international law is being violated daily while there is no accountability. The targeting of people seeking humanitarian aid constitutes a war crime under the Geneva Conventions. Unfortunately, there's no accountability to be seen, and this is allowing Israel to continue on its merry way. We've been repeatedly saying that the time has come that the world must hold Israel accountable for what it has done. But besides that, in this show, we discussed how India's extremist society is now damaging the sports and also the harmony and the peace and the friendship and the diplomacy that comes as a result of sports. Besides that, we also discussed the shocking findings that came out in the preliminary report of the Air India crash, and with time we will continue to discuss this in further detail, because this is the details that have surfaced so far are just mind-boggling. So we will continue to discuss all these topics, but our show has come to an end. We will see you in another show next week. Till then, take a lot of care of yourself. Please do share your feedback on both social media handles. This is me, Moizer Rahman, signing off. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.